Welcome. Happy Friday and welcome to the Digital Discovery Show, brought to you by Tourism Tribe and Navii Digital. Liz Ward here, and it's my absolute pleasure to present this Digital Discovery Show to you, our show where we bring people to the fore, ask them to share their stories about how they are navigating turbulent times, but making the best use of digital to be able to do that and to help them. My aim is that in this show today that you're going to feel quite encouraged and inspired by the person you are about to meet, who is going to tell you his story about dealing with the challenges in the retail sector at the moment, and particularly in the travel sector, and how he is taking a really great attitude and embracing digital to be able to help him with his business improvement during this time. Now, don't forget that we want to hear your questions, your comments, share your stories as well, because this gentleman is not the only one who is navigating these difficult times, and he's not the only one who is making the most of technologies and digital marketing to help him to do that. So welcome everybody, and please send us through your questions and comments throughout the show. So today I'm interviewing a gentleman called Allan Hopper. So Allan has a business called Hop Around, and you're going to hear about his journey shortly in the travel industry. And let's get started. So please, I'll welcome to the stage, to the screen, Allan Hopper.
Hi, Thank Allan. You, Liz. Hi.
Thank you so much. Good morning, and thank you so much for your time, as I know that you are nose to the grindstone working on your business at the present time. But so that people listening, watching, have an idea of where you've come from, what you're doing, why you love what you're doing. That's certainly been my impression as we've had the opportunity to get to know you over the last 4 weeks. That you do love what you're doing. I get a real sense of passion there. But please tell us a bit about your journey so far in travel and in your businesses and what you've done.
Thank you. Well, my journey in travel started in 1980 in Dublin in Ireland. And at that time, I got a job with the national airline Aer Lingus. And I started out in working in the reservations department and then moved to Dublin Airport itself and worked in almost every aspect of passenger handling that you can think of. So check-in, boarding, arrivals, the transfer desk, baggage tracing, special handling, which was a unit designed to take care of business and first-class passengers and VIPs. And I met quite a lot of famous people during that time, which was really great. And I even had a stint flying because back then, Ireland wasn't exactly busy with travel except during the summer months. And they would ask people to come from different departments within the airline and train those people to fly for about 6 months to handle the summer traffic. So I had a stint flying for six and a half months in I can't remember when it was, 1984, I think it was. And then towards the end of my career at Aer Lingus, I made sure that I got to work on the ticket desk at Dublin Airport because I knew I was coming to Australia. And the first time I came to Australia was actually, I won 2 tickets at an Aer Lingus function in Dublin. And there were 2 tickets with Qantas to Australia. And I actually let those tickets expire. And then I called Qantas and said, would you consider extending them for me? And they did. So I came here and spent 8 weeks, 4 weeks with a friend of mine. After 4 weeks, he had enough and went back. And I stayed on in Sydney and decided to explore Sydney and see what Sydney had to offer. And then I went back, and also during that time in Dublin Airport, again, because the airport wasn't busy during the winter months, we were encouraged to take unpaid leave. And everybody talked about going to Australia. So everybody who had unpaid leave came to Australia for the 6 months, knowing that your job was there when you came back. So I also did that. and then went back to work at Aer Lingus, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to actually go live in Australia. And I knew that what I would do when I got here was to work in the travel industry. So I set about getting my AFTA, UFTA diplomas at the time. And I did all of those exams, and then I had 2 years experience at the ticket desk in Dublin Airport, which was not just about tickets on the Aer Lingus network. It was actually dealing with worldwide fairs. So it was a great background to have, to have all that training under my belt when I came to Australia made a big difference. So I arrived here in 1989 in February, and 2 weeks after I arrived, I got a job in a travel agency. And I remember my first day, and I was
screen and all those codes, didn't you? You knew how to do. You knew how to deal with the green screen and all those codes, I expect.
I did. I did know that. However, when I went to work there, they gave me, I had no training. So it was literally, it was busy. There were people queuing out the door, and I was given half a desk and a spreadsheet. It was like an A4 sheet that was handwritten, with some fares on it that made absolutely no sense to me at all, because they were all, net fares was not something I was trained in. The way the industry works here was completely different to all the theory. And but I remember sitting there and speaking with someone, and that person wanted a fare to Europe, and I, in my head, was saying, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And then at some point I went, I can do this. I can sell an airfare to this woman. And so I got really interested in her and what she wanted, and the rest I thought I can figure out afterwards. So that was my first sale, and then I went from there to being one of the highest selling consultants in that particular agency. And I got to know the business very well, but it was all self-taught and determination on my part, and I can do this attitude.
Yeah, and I will let you continue your story, but I just need to pause you for a moment, because there was something so important that you said towards the end there, that you just got really interested in her and wanted to know what she wanted. So that's the art of sales, isn't it? And negotiation is understanding what that wants in front of you. That's so that's fantastic. So you're hitting the top of the sales charts in this travel agency group or travel agency. What happened next?
Then I moved from there to another agency as a consultant, and then I was asked to be the manager of another agency, and then I moved from there to another agency as a manager. And in 1994, I set up my own business with my business partner back then, Georgina, and we opened a business called Celtic Travel Services, which is still running to this day. And Georgina and I created that together. And she also had a background in Aer Lingus, so it was a perfect match. And we operated that as a partnership until 2003. And at that point, I decided I wanted to get out of travel. I wanted to try something else. So I left, and I didn't stay out of the industry that long. I think probably about 6 months later, I had to look around at what else there was to do, because my passion for travel is so there that I had to come back. So I came back, and I came back as a temp in a large agency in the city, and then after a while, I became a team leader of one of the teams in that agency, and then I became what they call a broker in that agency. So that was the beginning of the next journey, which was my own business. And then I moved to another agency group, and now with Hop Around, this is the third iteration of my business. and the final one. So
being a broker, you essentially established your own business as a broker. So
yes.
you were a go-between between retail, travel, and wholesalers. Is that right, or is that how that works?
I was a broker, and I was also a team leader at the same time. So I managed both. That was an arrangement I came to with the people who ran the business, and that worked really well. So one of my agreements with my business partner when I left travel was that I was not going to take my clients with me, and because I was getting out of travel, and I kept my word to Georgina, and so I had to build a client base from scratch in 2003. So when I became a broker, I said, you need to let me on the phone so I can build a client base, and I did that. And I remember sitting in the office and at the time being desperate for business, and really then suddenly got, hang on a second, what I'm trying to do here is just get whatever business I can get versus creating an empowering context. And the one I created was taking care of people and looking after them, making sure that from the time they pick up the phone to me until the time they arrive back home, they're in my arms. I have them. And the moment I shifted that, the business just came flooding in. And all of those clients are still with me today. So they've followed me from business to business. And I remember there was one particular client who went through a lot of different people in that agency, and no one could handle him. And I still have him, and he is a brilliant, brilliant client. If you read his emails, you would think the complete opposite, but I found a way to actually communicate with him that works for him. So yeah.
Yeah. So for me, what you've just described there is the clarity and the niche of being a great travel agent is that customer care and that trust. And why do we pay a travel agent to put together an itinerary and do our planning for us? It's so that we don't have to think about it. We don't have to worry about it. The days of needing to walk into a big agency group just to book your international flights are well and truly gone. That's where you started in the industry, wasn't it? When it was too hard to do that yourself.
Yes.
And now you were ahead of the curve in identifying what is the niche and the purpose of a travel agency that sets them apart and makes them really relevant in the market.
Yeah.
So you've got Hop Around. That's your main business now. That's what you're doing now.
Yes, and then I just want to say something about the name, because for a long time people were saying to me, you should use your name. You've got a great name for travel. And I resisted doing that for a long time because when I lived in Dublin, Hopper's not an Irish name. So we were, Hopper was associated for me with all of the nicknames I was called at school. So I resisted using that for a long time. And then I came up with, I thought, well, a pun on the name would be good. And so that's how Hop Around came to be.
I wonder
and I really like it.
Yes, and I wonder if anybody picks up a bit of Australiana in it as well, since you're in the Australian marketplace with.
Oh yeah, yes. Well, that was one of the nicknames. So
Sure, I'm sure, and I'm surprised no one's asked this question yet. But at the beginning of your story that you've told us about your journey so far in your working life and your business life. You mentioned that you got to deal with a lot of VIPs and you met a lot of celebrities. I'm so surprised nobody has asked the question so far online. Who was the most celebrity that you ever met?
I would say Tina Turner.
Oh.
Yes, I took care of her, and she had performed a concert in. Sorry.
A Nutbush moment.
Yes. And she was so lovely. She had, I'd been to her concert the day before, and she came to Dublin Airport to fly out to Glasgow. And I remember looking at the sheet, and I was down to take care of her. And, she was incredibly shy, like completely different to the persona, the person, that the star, Tina Turner. And I was very respectful of her. And, she's tiny and just a wonderful human being. And I just took her to the first class lounge and offered her a cup of coffee and some biscuits, and that was great. So, but it was wonderful. Those experiences were wonderful. I met U2 lots of times. They were fabulous. Lots of different people. So yeah, but she was probably the most famous one.
What wonderful experiences. That's so great. And your time in travel, like you're like the almanac of the travel industry and how it's developed. It's fantastic. So tell me about COVID for you as a business. Like, everybody is fully aware of the impact. Well, not fully aware, but we can't miss the impact on. We talk a lot about the tourism industry and how it's been impacted, but I think we forget to acknowledge the impact on the travel sector. Yes, we talk a lot about airlines, but your sector, in terms of that, that really important role that you play in organising people's travel, that's been hit incredibly hard. So it must have been, what an emotional roller coaster you've been on. The shock factor must have been huge. The financial impact. Can you tell us a bit about that? Just how you dealt with that. What the experience has been for you.
Sure. In the beginning, first of all, this version of my business began in July 2018. So the 1st of July 2018 was when Hop Around began. And, it was just a transition from where I was before with our clients. And we were on this upward trajectory. And ironically, we had our biggest month in February of this year. And then COVID hit. And in the beginning, when it wasn't that bad, we weren't that impacted. And then at some point, the middle of March, everything just stopped. So our sales literally came to a halt. And, everybody knows what it's been like since. So that was difficult to deal with in the beginning. I didn't have any staff. I had contractors, so I had to let the contractors go. One of my contractors happened to be my sister, Anita, who lives in Ireland, and Anita took care of all of the, sorry, I'll say that again. She takes care of all of our mid-office and back-office systems, so everything to do with accounts. And letting Anita go and having that conversation with her was particularly difficult. And I remember we both cried and then we laughed, because that's just the way it was at the time. There was nothing we could do. So I had to very quickly make some tough decisions, which I did. And I figured out early on that this wasn't going to, go away fast. So I made some tough decisions and implemented them very, very quickly. And now I'm here with this, what I'm doing right now is reinventing the business. Having said all of that, the experience was really, it was hard. There were times when I got very down, and then I'd get back up again, and then I would get down again. And I'm lucky that I have a great group of friends. I'm surrounded by people who don't let me stay in that place for a long time. And I had lots of people come to my assistance and offer me, help and advice. And that got me through those first few months. In terms of our bookings, we have hundreds of cancelled bookings, and I think I'm very, I've been very fortunate in the sense that 95% of our clients have kept their bookings in credit with us. We have probably, we have some refunds, so the remaining 5% is made up of refunds, and we had one unfortunate situation where we had a chargeback, and that was hard to deal with. But the our clients are great, and they've been really, really supportive as well. Some of our clients have sent care packs and lots of emails, lots of messages, phone calls to find out how we're doing. So, I think I'm through the other side of the hardest part of it. And now I'm working on, what I'm working on now.
Thank you for sharing that, Allan, because I don't underestimate the trauma of this. And so when you say that you are reinventing the business, what does that look like? Is it at new destinations for your existing clients? What kind of remodeling have you done?
Well, that's an interesting question. So first of all, when I was preparing for this, I saw this saying yesterday, and it said, "You are exactly where you are supposed to be." Mm-hmm. And during the hard times, I also remembered, that it's not personal, and it's not just happening to me. So that gave me some power in being able to deal with what there is to deal with. It's also, I don't have a say over the circumstances that happen in my life. They just happen, and I've dealt with way worse than this in my life. So, but I do know that I do have a say in how I respond to the circumstances. And I'm not saying I do that straight away. I went through all the spaces that most people have gone through. But at some point, then I dealt with my word in the matter. Who am I going to be in the face of this? What do I say about what's going to happen in the future? And so I drew a line in the sand and I said, this is not going to get me. I'm going to come out the other side. My business is going to come out the side bigger and better than before, as a matter of my word. And then I got committed to that, and I got myself surrounded by a team of people, and we are literally looking at everything that we do, every single thing that we do. At the time that COVID happened, I was in a course with my accountant called Profit Master. My accountant is amazing, and she's not just an accountant, she's a mentor and a coach. And I remember, we were sitting, and there were several businesses in that course, not just travel agencies. There were architects and glassboard designers and various other businesses. But she said, do not sit on your bum watching Netflix. So I wouldn't do that, because I'm very conscientious, and I would sit at my desk and make sure that I'm working, still working, being stoic. But I would have, I would sit at my desk staring at the screen, not knowing what to do, with this list of, things to accomplish and not doing anything. And, there were times when it was like that. But since then, I now have, through the help of Tourism Tribe and through the course I'm doing there, I now have a project which is happening, which is the reinvention of the business. So we are literally looking at every single thing: our email addresses, our signatures, what we do, the steps that have to happen to make a booking. How can we make our system smarter? What can we do differently that will prepare us for the future? How can we, get ready for the comeback? Because it will come back. Travel is going to come back, and everybody will be bursting, to travel, including myself. When that comes back, it will be.
Yeah. We've been fortunate because we met you after you made that commitment. So for us, we just see the man who has gone, I'm going to come out the other side of this, and I'm going to work on my business and get things really ready for that unleashing of that pent-up demand, which is no doubt going to happen. So we've been fortunate to be on that side of this experience with you. So you're looking at a lot of, we're in the digital age, right? It's 2020. Of
Yes.
course, digital is a big part of fine-tuning your business and changing your marketing. I am looking forward to the day that we don't even use the term digital marketing anymore. It's just marketing, because it's, everybody's, so over 50% of searches across all sectors are done on a mobile device. Over 90% of people start their travel research process or any online shopping process with search. So it's just digital, right? So how were you coming up to this big challenge that you've set yourself with digital? Were you really au fait with digital, or has this been quite a leap for you to sort of open the gates on that and be more open to using digital technology?
I wouldn't say I was au fait with digital. People around me think I'm great with digital, but I would say of what is available, I was using probably about 5%, and so it was all new to me. Also, to give a bit of background, we've never advertised. We've never advertised once. And so all of our business is repeat and referral. And so dipping my toe into digital marketing is completely, not dipping my toe, but we're going full in now, is completely new. And in January, I met with someone approached me, someone who saw our website called me, and he he's a social media expert, and he said, "I really like your brand. I would really love to work with you." So I met with him, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I was thinking I can do this myself. And when I met him and had a conversation with him, I realized there's no way I can do this. Like, I just can't. So I employed his services in February, and our social media campaign started. And he's doing great work. And, having seen what he's done, I can see that there's no way I would have been able to accomplish what we have accomplished. For example, Instagram, we had 20 followers or something like that, which were, they were all people I knew. And now we have 937, and that's Brendan's work.
During a pandemic when nobody is traveling.
Yes. And I've changed my email signature. Underneath my email signature, it says reinventing, hibernating, reinventing, dreaming of travel, stay connected and dream with us. So really what we're out to accomplish here is keeping the dream of travel alive and building our brand. There's no advertising there. It's really great images of great destinations, so that people can think of traveling, think of the future and traveling again. Yeah.
Yes.
So
I love that clarity, Allan. That's a clarity that you've arrived at, a brand positioning. Despite the market isn't there presently to convert, you've gone, I'm going to work on the brand of this business and build its audience in this time. And a lot of people would say that's too hard to do that, but you've actually employed the services of somebody who's really good at Instagram and knows what images work. And it's very good, nice little example, not little, but it's like a strategy, and it's a really good case study of what you can do, even if that market isn't converting at the present time. What other? Sorry, you go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it isn't. It's also not that expensive to accomplish that. So, with the business grants that we received, that's what I've used the money for. And redeveloping our website. Please don't look at our website at the moment. There's a lot not working with it, but I'm I'm also a perfectionist, so I know there's a lot not working with it. Sorry.
This is the time to do it, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Get it right and get your friends to test it and really work through that user journey about what is You've got everyone pretty much who comes, if you're doing that work on social media and building that audience and the other marketing that you put in place, you'll be confident that anyone who comes onto your website is at some level of interest or warmth. So then it's your job just to make the user journey on that website easy for them.
Yes, and that's what I'm learning. On Sunday, I did some work on the website myself, and I was very proud that I was able to put in buttons and, bits and pieces that made it look, great. And then I broke something. So the top menu there, I put a piece of coding in further down the page that broke the top menu. And then last night I went, I think I know why I broke that. And then I took it out and it went back to how it looks now. So I was happy with that. When I spoke with Despina, first of all, yourself and Fabi had a webinar about Tourism Tribe and all things digital. And I got so inspired by that because to me, it was action-packed and there were lots of really practical things that I could implement in my business straight away that have made an enormous difference. But I remember calling Despina afterwards and saying, why should I do this course? And, because I knew I had my marketing, I had my clients, I had my website, and I had my social media. And Despina said one thing to me that really was the thing that had me register for the course. And that was that it's a way to keep your social media people, the social media team, and your web developers accountable. So, our web developers are great. Our social media guy is great, but he's not sitting there thinking of my business all the time. He's going on to do other things. So I have to be the one who is 100% responsible for what goes out there and oversees the whole thing. And that's what I'm learning now. And, working the back end of the website and making sure that you can add some content without breaking anything. That's that's the big challenge. And in the beginning, it seemed like an insurmountable task to learn all of this. And, but it's actually, I'm finding it, I love it. And I'm finding it very, the more I practice, the easier it becomes. And now I love going on and saying, oh, what if I do this? What if I do that? So yeah, there's now a finite list of things to do. When you start, it seems to go on forever, but there is a finite list, and you just tick them off one by one, and then at some point it'll be done. But having said that, a friend of mine said to me, it's like a bonsai. It's always needing, your website's always needing, it always needs attention. So, you're always going to tweak it and adjust it and add things and take away things. And, so, yeah, so that's been really an amazing journey. And I'm only just over halfway through the course, and I'm loving it.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Allan, you're doing, just for the benefit of other people, just to give that background, you're doing the BizKeeper Foundation course at the moment, which is essentially a 6-week program. And it does have a lot packed into it. And I think, even if you're not doing any kind of training in this space, when it comes to working on your website, your marketing generally, improved processes, whatever you're doing during this time, overwhelm can be a problem, can't it? That you can just go, there's so much to do here, I just don't even know where to start. I'm really interested that you say you have whittled it down. I'm not saying it's a short list, but a finite list of things that you want to do. And so that's really great that you've achieved that understanding to be able to do that and that confidence to do that. I think that's going to put you in really good stead. And I completely agree with your friend about the bonsai, because we've got to shift our thinking. It's such antiquated thinking now to think that a website, you build it and that's it and you let it sit. Website's not a digital brochure. we can teach you how to make a digital brochure using Canva. It will be awesome. You won't. Have we done that yet? You will love it. It's just like you will just get so excited you won't be able to stop making them. But that's not what a website is. You know, a website is your online shopfront. That's instead of having a bricks and mortar travel agency, this is your shopfront, and it's got to be kept fresh, and you've got to have new things in it, and it has to look a bit different each time somebody walks in the door, you know, but look right
Yes.
for them. So it's just become as far as I'm concerned, the website is the most important asset in our arsenal of digital marketing. There's no doubt about that. Customers are obviously our greatest asset, but you've got them looked after. You've got them well and truly sorted.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're doing really, really well. You talked about learning to make some changes on the website yourself, which is fantastic. Has that been one, would you say that's been the biggest challenge, or would you talk about other challenges with building that digital skill that you've built over the last month?
I think I had a little bit of experience with that before, and we're yet to do. I think we're yet to do that in the course, but or maybe we did it last week and I haven't gone back over it. But no, I'm finding that easier. But in the beginning, you know, going into the back end of the website and looking, you know, looking at that was like looking into a bush. It made no sense to me at all. But then, you know, if someone looked at a GDS in
global
cryptic,
distribution system for those non-travel agent people.
Global distribution system. Yes, if someone looked at a travel agency, a flight booking in there, they would not be able to read that. So I knew that I could do it. It just took time and a lot of, you know, patience and, you know, trial and error, because, you know, one of the things that, well, I think one of my strengths is that I have an eye for detail. So I will go and look at every tiny little thing on that website, and, you know, I will point out to my web developer, you know, for example, the favicon on Safari is not correct, and he's saying no, it is, and I said no, and then but with this course that I've been doing, I'm now using Asana for our project. So I can just go and put a little message up there, take a screenshot, and I know then it's out of my head. I don't need to call him. I don't need to email him. He's actually in that project, so he can look at those, you know, the things that need to be done. So I've got one column that is website issues, and I said, you're going to hate me because that column is going to get really long, and then we'll just deal with each one as we go. So yeah, so it's noticing, you know, all of those little things and then getting to work on how to fix them and make them look great. Because as you said, it's our shop front, and it's got to look great. So
that's right.
And you know, I'm mostly. Sorry.
Did you even know the word favicon when you started the course, or
No,
is that
no? I didn't.
So we're talking about the little picture, the little motif or logo on a browser tab, because this gentleman now has become such he's digitally empowered. He's using the lingo, and so that's part of your brand. You want it to look good, and also you mentioned Asana for people who are listening. So we often in our courses we talk about Trello, but Allan, being the star of the class for the week, went, check that out. No, I actually prefer this tool over here, Asana. So which is to be able to collaborate with others and organize tasks and projects. And so your messaging, you're able to tag your web developer and go, hey, deal with this in that list, in that online collaboration and planning tool. So I just explained that for other people. So I just think your digital enablement over a short period of time is nothing short of impressive in terms of you've jumped in and you're using these tools. I guess you come, even though you wouldn't describe yourself as somebody who's with a technology background, because of all the systems you have learned and worked on. And in travel, you're probably a bit more predisposed to it than you might have realised.
Yeah, In a way, but also the overwhelm of it was, in the beginning, it's not the first thing I say to myself. The first thing I say to myself is, do I need to learn another system? And I'm not saying Trello is bad, but I just found from my brain, Asana worked better. I could navigate that system. It was easier for me, and I could see a way to have someone else involved, and a way of communicating with them straight away without having to email or call. And I love the fact that the bonus of that is that your inbox is less. There are less emails to deal with.
Yes,
my goal every day is to have 0 emails in my inbox. I must get rid of them. I have to file them away, deal with them, put them in folders. If I have 10 emails in my inbox, that's like not good. So Asana has been brilliant.
So this is your personal challenge. It's the 0 email challenge. I love it. I love it. Isn't it fantastic? So when you're using a tool like Asana or Trello, you're able to integrate the task management with the messaging, so that every time you do that, it's 1 less email. And that is a time saver. If we are able to integrate things and tasks and messaging and collaboration, then that definitely saves us time. That's amazing.
And the other thing I do is with the lessons. So we have the actual session every week, but then I go back and I go over it 3 times, because I know that's how many times it needs to sink in. And when you look at it the second time, you see something else, and when you look at it the third time, you see even more. So I'm committed to mastering those systems and mastering everything digital for my business, so that I know that in time it will be something I won't even have to think about. Like when you start driving at first, you're for those of you who drove a stick shift, a manual car, you have to think about putting your car into first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and then after a while, it just you're not even thinking about it. And that's where I will arrive. I will get there.
I think it's about degrees of confidence. As you say with driving, it's degrees of confidence in digital, because whilst the drivability and the way you drive a car really hasn't changed over the last how many years, 40, 50 years, the thing with marketing and doing business today is the technology platforms keep changing. They just don't stop.
Yes.
So it's having that confidence you've conquered it at this level, now you're ready for the next adaptation that comes along. So it's that openness and willingness to change and keep learning. I think that is a secret ingredient of a business that I would describe as having an entrepreneurial person leading it. They will be prepared and more resilient, because they're just so much more willing to adapt. That's certainly what I observe in working with different businesses. So I think it's critically important today. I'm thinking about travel agents, and I'm thinking about this pent-up demand, and I'm thinking about when travel restrictions do lift. That personalised service that gives me some level of insurance about what about when I get off the plane at the other end and I test positive, what happens then? It's going to be a huge market for that kind of personalised travel concierging, troubleshooting, isn't there? It's going to be massive. So your communications tools with your clients, I can see that you're going to have to educate your clients about the best means of communicating with you whilst traveling. So I just park that idea for you when you get through the BizKeeper course and you've got those things better down. What does that look like? That would be an amazing opportunity for travel agencies going forward, is to be able to master that and teach their clients how to best stay in contact. And food for thought. You've shared, Allan, some great tips within your story that have just sort of come out. What do you think, you talked about, and I know we're running out of time now, and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I think it's nice in a way to sort of pull out, it's almost like a summary of your tips. What do you think were the characteristics that allowed you, like other businesses have, to get to that level of commitment? You said that you've been through harder times, so you had some perspective. But is there any secret sauce in terms of being able to deal with the stress of this and to be able to move to a positive mindset? Or are there practices that you do regularly to stay there?
I think there's no secret. That's the first thing. I think for what I would say is that the biggest access for me is sharing with people and getting in communication with people and telling them what I'm going through, and then finding out how they are and finding out what they're going through. And I think this is a time where, we're all in the same situation and we can help each other. I love talking to other business owners and hearing new ideas, and so I think the access for me is not staying in my head about it, because I know that when I do, it's not a good place to be. And so, getting out there and talking to people makes a massive difference. And, one of the things we're doing, because we know, a lot of people are hurting, and a lot of people, will be out of work possibly. And we're finding a way to make a difference to those people when travel bounces back as well. So, and if anybody wants to contact me or call me, I'm absolutely open to having conversations with people to, to help them. I don't know what I can do, but a conversation, you never know, a conversation can help. I think one of the other things for me is I love learning, and I love learning new things. And, I've been in the travel industry for a long time, and the travel industry has changed multiple times, in those, since 1980, there have been a lot of changes. And I think you have to have an open mind. You can't, I used to work in, when I worked, I used those old manuals, the APT and the OAG, the air tariff and the guides that were all books. So, things have changed a lot. So, you can never get to a point where you say, I've made it, I've arrived, I know everything. So, when I go to an evening where there are suppliers or a conference, even if I think the speaker is really boring and what the speaker is speaking about is not relevant to me, I listen for something, just one thing. If I get one thing out of what they say, then it's worth it. So, I think it's the willingness to be open-minded and the willingness to change and adapt when things change and adapt around you. That keeps, it keeps you focused and, centered and being able to deal with what you have in front of you.
I feel like a real gem you shared as well, and it was at the beginning really, was that you stopped focusing on the situation and the fact that we were all in this really weird, strange, uncontrollable situation, and you focused on what you could do. And I think that is a key take for people listening. You said, what can I do? What will make a difference for when the market opens up again? So I think that was a really great thing that you shared with people. So I appreciate that. I think that was great. I'm going
can I just say one more thing, Liz? Because I think, and this is our success in terms of having 100% repeat and referral business, is our attention is not on us, it's always on our clients. And when your attention is on your clients or someone else, then your stuff goes away. I always say I'm in the business of taking care of people. We happen to sell travel, but that's not how I describe myself. I sell travel. No, I take care of people.
Yes, absolutely. And that's also a trait of entrepreneurs, is when they focus on the customer and the customer's experience as opposed to what's going on inside them or the business. If that's their number one focus,
Mm.
that's when they create great businesses, products and services that they can build a successful business off the back of. Yeah, so it's actually a trait, it's an inbuilt trait, but we can learn it. We can learn to shift our focus there. That's amazing. You were very generous in saying that you're more than willing to chat with other people. How would you like people, how do you invite people to make contact with you, Allan?
They can email me or call me. I don't mind, either or. Probably the best way would be to send an email so we can set up a time to have a conversation.
We'll have to share with you our tool Calendly, free calendar links. You can hook it up to your calendar. So if you calendly.com, and then if they email you what's your email address?
It's Allan, Allan, @hoparound.com.au.
So if they were to email you, you can shoot them back an email with a link and say, here's a link to my calendar. Let's set up, you can grab a half-hour appointment in there. I'll share that one with you. Great.
That's one of the things that I've got to do. I remember that in the first day, and I haven't done that.
That's great. That's great. Allan, on behalf of our audience and people who are going to watch this in the future, I think this is, one of those really evergreen interviews where the tips you have shared will help people into the future. And very much thank you so much for your time and sharing your experience. And you've learnt from your bruises and past experience, and you're learning with that now, and it's so valuable and generous of you to share those. So thank you so much. And I certainly look forward to being able to hear about your travel journeys when we can talk about those at some stage. Yes. And have to organise that trip with you to Ireland and Scotland when we can do it.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you, Liz, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to Fabi and Despina and everyone at Tourism Tribe. I really appreciate it, and also thank you to everyone who watched and listened. And if you do, want to contact me, please feel free to do so.
Thank you, Allan. Bye-bye, everybody.
You.
Thank you so much for
Bye-bye.
listening.